This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Sean Preston.
So Jeff, for anybody who's listening, right off the hop has been giving me shit lately because I've been saying, welcome to the Good Neighbors Podcast, and that's not the case. Welcome to the Good Neighbor Podcast. I'm Sean Preston, your co-host. And today we have a great neighbor on with us. She's happy to be here. I'm happy to have her. Her name is Sophia from Ridiculously Happy People. What's going on, love?
I'm so glad that we have the branding sorted out. Good Neighbor Podcast. No S.
I got a video from him yesterday. And for those who don't know Jeff, he is extremely goofy, goofier than I am. And he sends me these videos of him singing. And he's singing and making fun of me because he's watching my podcast and I'm putting an S on the end. Maybe it's because I'm French. Who knows? But I've been put in my place. So we're corrected. We're good to go. I even got a little note here for myself.
Post-it notes are important.
They're very, very important. So welcome to the show. I work with a photographer. I just had a branding session with her. She takes the family photo front covers from our magazines. And so I'm a little familiar with this process, but still nonetheless really excited to get to know you and your business. So why don't we just dive right in and tell our listeners a little bit about your business.
Cool. So I am Sophia Lemon and I photograph ridiculously happy people. And a lot of people look at me really weird when I say that because they're like, what the heck do ridiculously happy people do? And why are you taking pictures of them? In short, I take photos of people doing what they're passionate about. So whether they are in love and they are proposing or getting married, or they are super passionate about their family, which we all should be, or they have a wicked job like your other photographer photographing other people. I do a lot of branding as well. So I specialize in photographing proposals, weddings, families, and branding, but most importantly, working with people who do not like having their photo taken, because I can identify with that in your kit very well.
You want to elaborate on that for me?
The number of times I have been photographed by professionals and they have asked me why I don't know what I'm doing when I'm a photographer is like so common. I kind of stand there like, okay, now what?
Right.
Yeah. I'm not a good subject, but photographer wise, I'm pretty good.
Very nice. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely that crowd out there, of people that, maybe have gotten told by somebody else, or maybe it's just in their own head. But, from what I've learned about my last little session is if the photographer knows her angles, then she's just going to tell you what to do. And so, sticking my chin out like this, keeping my chin down, that's a real thing for me. So now we were at the Women's in Business Awards last week. And there was a photographer there taking photos, and I knew exactly that lens came up, and I was like a giraffe, man. I'm right in there, tilting my head. There you go. Bam.
Yeah. Posing is a fun thing. You can really tell when someone has been told how to pose before because they start doing it all the time when there's a camera around, which is fun.
Very cool. Well, the business is pretty, straightforward to a degree when it comes to people taking photos of people, but, I want to kind of elaborate on some of this stuff. Maybe there's some people out there that don't know that much about it. There's clearly a lot that goes into it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure. Lots that goes into photography, and the way that I do it might be a little bit different than other photographers in that I'm maybe old school because I want you to get prints done of your photos. It's kind of the most important part of your entire photography investment. So I think we're going to get into that at some point.
Yeah, definitely. There's, we live in the digital age, digital era, and you have everything at your fingertips, but there's nothing better than, whether it's, laying in bed or getting in bed and you have a photo at your night table, or when you first walk in or you're walking up the stairs and you've got, photos wherever they are in your house, having photos and cherishing memories. The world spins too fast and time goes by way too fast, and having cherished memories, especially those of importance like family, weddings, and having those, I'm sure you could probably speak to some stories you've had of people that appreciate having those memories after they've taken it versus what they were saying before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and usually the people who have a good experience and go off with their photos, like, it's all great. I hear about how good the photos are, how much they love them. They love to look through their wedding album all the time, like, which is fantastic. But unfortunately, I hear more from the people who have lost all of their digital files. So importance of prints, way up there.
I'm going to second that motion because I'm in the print and digital media space. So very, very cool. All right, so I'm curious. I want to know about your story. Were you always in photography? Like, how and why did you get into doing what you do?
It's a super non-romantic story, but I was a giant nerd when I was in high school. I still am a giant nerd. What am I saying? I am a giant nerd. When I was in high school, I was building websites like GeoCities style, getting into like HTML and PHP and CSS and fun things.
Wow.
And I ended up applying to college for graphic design and then decided, no, I want to be a musician. So I stayed in high school for a bit, was practicing music and everything. I was building these websites and I wanted to start using photos, but I didn't want to use other people's photos. So I got a camera, started taking pictures, loved it, went away to college for photography. While I was there, I told you it was not romantic. It's not a romantic story. But while I was at college, one of our teachers told us that we should put photos of our most good-looking clients in our portfolios because people will see that and they will think she can make me look like that person, and then they will want to work with me. That's not reality. When people think that they don't look like the person in the photo, they don't want to have their photo taken. I thought that was like a horrible thing to say. So yeah, went on with my life. Didn't think I could make a living doing photography. Ended up going to Western for media information and technoculture. Thought I'd get into communications, use like my HTML skills and all of my abilities with a camera and get into marketing. And then graduated university, went on to work for an insurance company in their marketing department. And I had started my business while I was in university, side hustle style. And when I started working full time, saw a massive drop in the jobs that I was booking just because I was working 9 to 5, didn't have the time, no fun at all. So I left that job and went full time into photography. Okay. Long, non-romantic story short, I have discovered over the past 14 years that I've been in business that people need help getting their photo taken. It's not that they need to look a certain way, they need to have a good experience. So that's what I've focused on over the last little while. And sort of just not putting the super good looking people at the top of my portfolio, but just the normal people, helping the normal people.
I couldn't agree with you more. You know, people, as I always say this to people that come on the podcast, about half so far what I found of my guests have never been on one before. It's super brand new to them. And they're all really excited, which is great. But there's always this level of concern that they have. You know, is there a video? I should have done my hair. I'm like, here, let me just mess up my hair for you real quick. And then they're looking at me going like, I'm like, this is what it's all about. If people want to connect, everybody has this facade in front of them. And it's when we get to break down those barriers and you get to really find out who you are on the inside. That's what people want. They want to connect. They want to see you for you being that human being, and just hearing that on your side of the fence. That's what people want. They want the raw stuff. They want the real deal. And it seems like you've kind of recognized to showcase that instead of the beautiful people up at the front. I mean, everybody's beautiful in their own right. So
exactly.
That all factors in together. Okay, so when it comes to photography, I haven't got to ask Trish this question, but for you, I want to ask this one. What are some like misconceptions or misnomers that people have when you're, going to shoot them for the first time, or maybe even for the second time?
Well, the first thing obviously is people think that they are not photogenic. And first of all, if you think that you're not photogenic, it's probably not because you're not photogenic. It's probably because some very rude person at some point in your life told you that you didn't photograph well. And that is just absolutely not the case ever for anyone. But I tend to be able to help people through that part. So if we have a good experience with taking your photos, you're going to like your photos because there's just so much emotion and feeling connected with all of these things. Like podcasting, the moment you hear your own voice, you're like, whoa, I do not sound good and I'm never doing that again.
Yeah.
You know, the minute a person gets a photo that they don't like, they're like, I don't look good and I'm never doing that again. So I help people sort of break through the uncomfortability of being in front of the camera. But that's one thing that happens a lot. But if I had $1 for every time someone asked me, you know, I just need a photo. Can you just take a photo? Just one photo. We just need one photo. Our whole family's getting together. We haven't been together in 25 years and we just need one photo together. And all we need is a digital file. And photos are so much more than social media content. They carry all of the feeling with them that you felt when you took the photo. And they are great mental health support. Like journaling, like gratitude practices, like meditations. Go look it up. There's all sorts of stats on how quickly these things help you and how much they put your mind into a more positive space. But like you mentioned earlier, like imagine if every day you got out of bed and on your way to the washroom, you stopped by the washroom door and there's a photo of your family and you look at that photo of your family. And the first thing you do is you just count each person in the photo, mention to yourself what you love about them. You know, all of a sudden starting your day is like pretty fun, enjoyable, loving, maybe funny if the photo that you picked to put on your wall was entertaining, possibly if someone picking their nose. It happens. But anyway, you start to recognize the things that you have in your life that you actually love. And you keep reminding yourself of that over and over and over again. You put yourself into a positive headspace. And the other thing is it's not just about you. So I never met my mother's parents, for example, but like I know exactly what they look like from their wedding album and the zillion other photos that they took in their lives because apparently they were also nerds. But it's genetic. But the time that I really saw it was when my grandfather passed away, who was the only grandparent that I ever actually knew in person. And we're standing at his funeral and there were 70 billion photos at the front of his service. And I see a photo of my grandpa on a bull's back. So my grandpa was a Hereford farmer, beef cattle farmer. And there he is, no ropes, no nothing, no helmet, no like body armor. He's sitting on the back of a bull. And I'm like, Dad, what the heck is that about? And he goes, oh yeah, we had a bull. He was really quiet. You could just walk up to him in the pasture and climb on his back and ride him. And I'm like, I got to see that. How cool is that? I was not alive then. I got to see that. I got to learn something about my grandpa that I didn't know, you know? And I've laughed about that photo every time I've seen it since. I wasn't even there, but it brings me joy. And I just have to say, Instagram will not be around forever. And if my grandpa had not printed that photo, I never would have seen it. So digital files are not going to be around forever. I have so few photos of myself in high school, but I have that photo of my grandpa riding that bull and I get to laugh about it. So yeah, it's not just about you and it's about your family. So.
Yeah, totally. I've had other photographers express this when you start to understand the value of those printed photos and creating those memories and capturing those memories, it goes a long way because people aren't around forever. Like you said, you never know what's going to happen in the digital space with Instagram, you know, all of these other platforms that you rely on. But going back in history and looking at history, there's a lot of things that we've learned from photographs.
Yeah.
And cherishing those moments goes a long way. So I would totally agree with you with that one. Okay, so you seem and you strike me as a pretty fun person. I like to have fun.
Yes.
I like to have fun doing a lot of different things. And so let's see if there's anything that we're going to get to relate on today. I think there might be, but when you're not taking photos, when you're not working on or in your business, what do you like to do for fun?
Well, I was going to say, like, work is at the top of my list because I actually enjoy what I do. So every part of it except for the bookkeeping. So
yeah, no, I pay someone for that. So
that's the bookkeeping. But I play competitive softball. I work out. I hike. I have a 160-pound dog named Bruce, so I snuggle him a lot. And besides that, I like to sit in bed and eat chips and watch reality TV. Basically, anything Real Housewives or Real Housewives adjacent, I'm going to watch it.
What is it about that show that you're so addicted to?
They are so disastrous in their behavior. Their ability to get on TV, get drunk, do something stupid, and then apologize for it and move on is like amazing. I think we can all learn something from that.
So really, you're getting entertainment, but you're learning at the same time.
Yes, don't do that. Okay, check. Don't do that. Check.
Talk to me about your dog.
Ooh, okay, so he's a Pyrenees mix, and I have never had a Pyrenees. A Great Pyrenees is a livestock guardian dog. You might have seen them near sheep, but you might not have seen them near the sheep because they look so much like sheep that you might not recognize them. Giant white fluffy dogs. So they're supposed to get to about 140 pounds. Got Bruce, he's a mix, so he is a giant black dog. Took him to the vet. The vet said he'll be about 125 pounds. He's flipping 160 pounds. He's a big giant loaf of sleepiness until someone he doesn't know comes into his space. And then you would think he was like, what's that dog on that Stephen King?
like a chihuahua or like a teacup dog?
No, the vicious dog from those iconic movies that I cannot remember at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah. He has quite a good death stare. It's pretty impressive, but he's great to hug.
Yeah, I've got a long-haired Australian Shepherd, a red tri. He's going on 3 in April. He's an April Fool's baby. Mm-hmm. A big goof as well too. Hence why I think that all kind of worked out together. And the vet said he was supposed to be, his mom's 40 pounds, his dad's 44, and he's a flipping 68 pound. Not as heavy as yours. Your dog has 100 on mine, but mine's a big glug of a dog, and he's like that teacup dog. So he just gets it in his own head, and he's like, no, like I'm like my brother, the little Chihuahua, so I should be able to fit in this little space on the couch. And he just gets his ass right in there and just hits you in the face with it. And he's like, I'm coming in. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, I think that probably dogs, I don't know what it is, but I sense that they might all think that they are the same size. Because you notice the teeny tiny ones are always like, I'm going to kill everything. And the big ones are like, I'm just going to curl up in this corner over here and snooze. Like,
yeah. The bigger the dog, the bigger the suck.
It's true. Very true.
So when you go hiking, whereabouts do you like to go?
Oh, yes. Well, Copeland Forest is obviously awesome. I get up Bruce Peninsula way. Like I'm up near Owen Sound. There's this trick. Actually, no one go here, but Bayview Escarpment is a beautiful trail. But I would prefer if no one went to it. Thank you.
Nice. Yeah, there's nice little pockets that we have in Simcoe County that are pretty sweet for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And Collingwood area too. Collingwood area, some great trails.
Yeah. I got a couple buddies up there. Been in some of the trails out in that neck of the woods as well too. You got the big high rocks and the cliffs and all that.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Makes it for pretty nice scenery. And if you're going to go walk with 180 pound dog, not a bad spot.
Yeah, it's true.
So in life, life can throw us in a bunch of different directions. You've probably experienced some of this, probably have seen it maybe come out between, family members and people who are getting their photographs done. And sometimes these hands that we're getting dealt, we can't control it. It happens to you. Life throws stuff your way and people go through hardships and life challenges. But I think, it's the learning of those things and having the resilience of being able to come out on the other side that when we get to take a look back at it, we learn from that, makes us better human beings. And I wanted to ask you if you've ever been through something like that, a life challenge, a hardship where you overcame that. And because you did, it made you better, maybe made you stronger for it.
Yeah, I have. And it's funny too, because a lot of people think about hardship as like a thing that happens in your life at a specific time and it's going to throw your life into chaos. And that's the only time that you get to have a difficult time. But But for me, I have experienced severe depression twice in my life, including recently. Both times they've lasted years at a time and nothing happened. It's just my body just decided, no, right now we're going to hibernate for a few years. So couldn't get out of bed, all the normal stuff, physical pain, don't want to do anything, don't want to talk to anyone, feel anxious all the time. Felt like I had to be resting all of the time, despite the fact that all I was doing was resting and watching The Real Housewives. It's taken me a lot of time to get out of that, but it's also, I think it's helped me a lot sort of connect with my clients too, because I see it all the time. Like I'll meet up with a family and they'll tell me like the last time we were all together was 15 years ago. And now we have 25-year-old kids and they haven't had photos taken together since they were very young. Right. And it's always like grandma who's, I just want a family photo. Finally, we've gotten together for this family photo. If you asked any of these people what like their number one priority in life was, they would probably say their family, but they spend all of their time doing everything else to take care of their family. And when we do that, we put ourselves second and or third or fourth, or basically at the bottom of the list after everyone else, plus our job, plus all the running around that we have to do to get groceries and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
We sort of forget to take care of ourselves. And when you don't take care of yourself, you really start to not like yourself. When you don't like yourself, everything feels like shit. Don't know if I can swear on this show, but anyway.
Yeah, I've dropped a couple F-bombs. I told Jeff I was going to keep it at a minimum. I did 9 years in the car business, so it just changes it, you know?
You have to swear in the car business because road rage. I get it. But yeah, I've had to like figure out for myself that I need to live life the way that I want to live life, which might not be the way that everyone else wants to live life, but it also helps me help my clients because I can also say to them, like, no, let's not go do photos at the same place that everyone else does photos. Let's take your canoe, stick it in the water and shove you out there. I'll take some photos, doing things that you enjoy doing that actually are good for you and not thinking that you need to do what everyone else is doing just because they said so or because you saw it on TikTok and you thought that looks nice. Yeah. Super important to like figure out what your values are and your passions are and to do that. That's what's worked for me.
I love that answer because I try to relate to, my own family and stuff like that, where I feel like my sisters would say one thing and I would say something completely different. And then I feel like you would say, well, you guys all like doing this, so why don't we go here and take the photos? Yeah. And then everybody would unanimously agree and say, that's a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, especially, to touch on the mental health and the depression thing, like people don't know what they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And in this day and age, if you're listening to the show, make this an absolute paramount priority for your life to never judge somebody on what's going on, right? Even if you say something to somebody and they kind of are barking back at you, there's a reason why. And it's probably something that wasn't even you who did it. They're just going through some things. Like I would have never known that you had severe depression twice in your life and it just randomly came up. It wasn't even like something ever happened. It's like, hey, these things happen. We're human beings. There's chemicals and balances and what you eat and food and all of this stuff, and you never know how somebody grew up either. And so, taking somebody at face value, not prejudging them is a really important thing because this is the real thing, right?
And also like not prejudging yourself, because I find a lot of the times that we have issues like this in life, we're trying to be someone else based on what we think we're supposed to be or based on what people are telling us we're supposed to be. So if you grow up your whole life, your mother's telling you that you need to work a 9-to-5 job, you're probably going to try to get a 9-to-5 job. But if that doesn't work for you, you're just going to be miserable for the entire time that you work that 9-to-5 job. So yeah, you really need to know yourself. I love the idea of not prejudging other people as well, because I don't know if anyone else noticed, but everyone is very stressed out right now. So now is definitely the time to just be a little bit more gentle with the other people in our lives and also ourselves. Like give yourself a little bit of a break.
100%. Well said. Couldn't agree more. So what's one thing that you wish that the listeners knew about your business if you had to pick?
So this is when we come back to that whole prints thing. Like,
Yeah.
if you're not getting prints of your photos, unless, of course, they are specifically social media content, like your personal branding stuff that you're using to market your business, you need to get prints. Period. If you don't, the job is not done. If your digital files are sitting on your computer somewhere, your photographer has not completed their job. So for me, my ultimate goal with my clients is to help them create custom art. That's basically what prints are that you're going to put up in your house. They are your own custom art. But more importantly, custom art that reminds my clients of like the fun and the love in their life. And they also help them build community. So we're talking about mental health and spending time with your family. If your kids see you running around like a chicken with your head chopped off, trying to get all of this stuff done that you think you need to get done and not spending time with them, they're going to grow up to run around trying to get all of the stuff done and not spending time with their family. Like, that's what we're inadvertently going to teach our kids, right? Now, if we take a whole bunch of family photos and start putting those up through the house, so every day they get up and start wandering the halls or playing video games or whatever they're doing, they're going to start seeing their family have a good time together every day. They see their family laughing. Like, that starts to build really strong bonds with kids, especially when they're like, you know, really young and you just really want to like influence them that way. But like, man, when those kids hit teenagehood and they don't know who they are and who their community is, and they really need to be reminded that they have a support system at home, like, that's when it's like super important to get those photos up on the walls, make them see them all the time, put them up in their bedroom, embarrass them when their friends come over. Because they deserve that. They deserve to know that they are a part of a family and a community always. And you deserve that too. Gosh darn it. Like, you deserve to not feel anxious and run around all day. And you deserve some time to celebrate this family that you have created. So it's a super important investment, and an important investment in your mental health and your family's mental health and your legacy. So yeah, all these photos that you're taking with your family, they are going to remind you that, you know, you have fun and laughter and all that delightful stuff in your life on that day that you're wandering through the house in your robe thinking everything sucks and I just don't wanna, whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is science-based back stuff. Anybody can go browse around the internet and look at this. And I got to recently partner with a dog photographer. So she specializes in only taking photos of dogs. And one of the, obviously, loving doing it is one thing, but when she found out the science behind what it does chemically inside your brain when you walk by a photo and there's a dog there, it does wonders to the soul and to your brain. And that translates into people and having those deep bonds and connections like we do with our family members. And then, of course, there are all of those special occasions like weddings and stuff like that. So taking photos is a very honorable job, in my opinion.
Thank you. And I also find that a lot of people sort of hold themselves back from just getting their photo done. Like, yeah, I want to have photos up in my house and I want my mental health to be fantastic, you know, because I know I'm loved and stuff. I really don't want to step in front of a camera though. So it better be candid and I better not know that you're taking the photo of me. But here's the reality of it. If you're working with a photographer and you genuinely don't like being in their presence, you are not going to like your photos, even if they are the best photographer in the world. If you don't like them, you are not going to like your photos. You really have to like the person that you're working with. You have to have a good time with them. So like, talk to them first. You have to talk to your photographer first. You have to like jive with them morally. You know, you have to like that. So when you're with them in person, having your photo taken, it's more like you're laughing together, hanging out with a friend, than they are pointing their dangerous camera at you and you're terrified for your life.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally would agree with you. And I've heard it from a few people that, you know, I've come across that have a gift card that pays for more than half of their session, which makes that extremely affordable. And they're like, I'm just waiting. I got to lose like 5 pounds, need a little bit more complexion in my face. I'm like, do you know what they could do with Photoshop? You have no idea. That should be the last thing that you should be thinking about. Only after, because I got my branding session with my photographer done. So through our, conversation, and just because she's also a client of mine, I get to see her on a regular basis. So a lot of this stuff I've had the pleasure of learning about, but it's a real thing. A lot of people know that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
So it was an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Really, really love you and dig in your setup. I think I'm going to start going a little more casual on the show based off of what I'm seeing here, because you look absolutely badass with the hat backwards and the hair. I would totally have a beer with you at the bar. And wanted to say thank you so much for coming on the show. You seem like a great person, Sophia, and you have a great business, do great things out there. And we wish you all the best with your business. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
No worries, anytime.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Midhurst. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpmidhurst.com. That's gnpmidhurst.com, or call 705-413-3775.